Okay, we're in business. All right, looks like we're all here. Let's get this meeting started. All right, thank you everybody for being here on this February meeting. Present here we have Christina Amato, Gregory Nato, Adam Pollock, Jania Pearson, Teresa Priester, and of course we have Cher Vickers and Mr. Robert McLaughlin, and our help as well, Adriana. We also have we have visit today. We have a presentation which we're looking forward to, catching up and see where we are. And it looks like we have some visuals, so looking forward to that. All right, so proof of the meeting was sent out publicly. That's item number 2. And we can move on to item number 3, which is the reading and approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I would need a motion to approve, or does anybody have any questions regarding the minutes from last meeting? I would need a motion to approve it. Mm-hmm.
In the notes regarding some comments about workforce development, I think the summary of that conversation was basically an overall plan and then coming up with a plan and then presenting that to the board if such plan exists. So I think those are just notes in there about that conversation that weren't there.
Yeah, okay.
If we come up with a plan, then we can investigate how we might go about it and whether or not we can use our funds to promote a workforce development initiative.
Right. So thank you for pointing that out. I think that that's something we've discussed in the past regarding job development and exploring that.
Yeah,
I think
so it was mentioned in the notes, but just not that particular point. So if we wanted to go back in terms of should there be any follow-up,
right.
The next step would devise a plan and then examine it.
Okay, yeah. So I am completely in agreement with you regarding exploring that deeply and trying to figure out something substantial, something material for the city of Newburgh. So it's one of, I would think it should be a priority for 2024 and the direction that we're going to.
Thank you.
Thank you for noting that out. Anything else? If not, we would just need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for December.
I need a second.
I second it.
All right. So do we have any opposing, abstaining, in favor?
I have to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. Opposing? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you for that. And for the purposes of time, we're going to actually move to the presentation, if that's okay, because otherwise we could have your staying here. We like the company, but, you know, I'm sure you would like to also get home in a relatively good timing. All right. So do you feel comfortable coming up? It's up to you. How do you? Okay.
I'll start off. My name is
Let's see if we could get you a mic.
Do you want the stand, or this is okay?
saying I can hold the mic. It's okay. No, either way. So, okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlie Bazidlo. I am outside counsel for the applicant. The applicant tonight is IV5 Newburgh South Logistics Center. It is an entity owned by Brookfield Properties that you may have heard of. With me from Brookfield Properties is Will Pasick, who is the project manager, I'll say, and also Frank, and I'm going to get Frank's name wrong, even though he just told me, Vander Vecken. I keep calling him Vander Vecken. Frank is will be the construction manager for the project. So just by way of a quick introduction, and then Will and Frank will get into some more detail about the project. The site is the old DuPont Stauffer property on South Street, the corner of South Street and Pierce's Road. We're proposing a 416,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility. Basically, access to the facility will be truck-wise off of South Street, which is actually a state highway right at that section right there. So we are in the process of our DOT permit for that. Employee access will be off of Pierce's Road, and we'll show you a site plan later on that shows you how that's built up. But basically, we have been through our zoning board variances. We have been through our planning board approval. We have our seeker neg deck from the planning board, and our approval all buttoned up with the planning board. So we are here with the application to the IDA. Our application as amended is one for a 10-year real property tax relief that is in compliance with the board's UTEP. So I want to point that out. And I guess the other unique thing about it is that we would not be seeking any reduction for the first 2 years while we're in construction of the project, year and a half construction. So that 10-year is even reduced by a little bit less, though we include that in the 10-year period. So by way of a quick introduction, that's the project. And Will, if you want to go into some more about Brookfield and about the project itself. So.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, everyone. So, slide. Here's the current conditions, but first of all, my name is William Pasick. I'm an investment officer for Brookfield Properties. Before that, I worked for a company called Real Term Logistics, the largest owner of high flow-through logistics in North America. So industrial real estate and logistics facilities has been my bread and butter my entire career. Brookfield is a large hard asset manager based out of Toronto, publicly traded at BAM or BN. Our real estate headquarters is out of New York at the right across from World Trade Center, formerly known as the World Financial Center, now Brookfield Place. Outside of real estate, we have infrastructure holdings. We own a lot of bridges, tunnels, and toll roads in Brazil and Canada, as well as have a large renewables practice. So one of our companies is called Standard Solar. They've installed recently over 100 panels in the state of New Jersey, with a 3.4 megawatt project in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, for Uniqlo, which is a Japanese casual wear company. For our, real estate expertise, we have about 50 million square feet across 250 properties nationally. We have in the New York area 4.4 million square feet across 30 properties, with about 25 developments totaling about 10 million square feet. Our team has grown rapidly over the past 4 years as the logistics platform has really exploded, and so we're really excited about this opportunity here. Specifically, as our current experience, we've completed 1.3 million square feet at Exit 8A in Monroe Township. That was the largest warehouse in the state of New Jersey. We have about 200,000 square feet in Franklin Township, 330,000 square feet in Ridgefield, which was a Pfister chemical site, another contaminated site. We have a 15-acre site in Nassau County, Long Island. That's an Occidental Petroleum Superfund site, Class 4 as well. So we have expertise in these sites. Frank Vandervecken here, he has some marketing material for some of our projects to pass around. You guys can take a peek through that. If you have any questions of any sites, we'd be happy to organize a tour or walk you through any of these. As for construction, we build these facilities speculatively. We think that our high-quality attributes with our clear heights, our modern facades, well and LEED standards are going to attract the best tenants possible. As part of our application, we submitted an abbreviated tenant list. We have about 500 tenants nationally. Most of them are Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. They look to go in these locations that have great access to interstates and have these great facility features. So we have about 128 trailer drops, 78 trailer docks on the site, so that's going to allow somebody to use this as a regional transit hub. So as for the project itself, this is a 50-acre site. We're going to be building a 416,000 square foot facility. You can see that, as Charlie mentioned, truck entrance is going to be on South Street on the east side of this drawing. Car entrance is going to be on Pierce's Road on the north side. This is going to be a really modern facility. I have a little bit of a video here you can take a look through. The site previously was the DuPont Fabricoid site. They acquired the site in about 1911. From there, they were using this facility and this site as waste disposal. That continued through the 1960s and 70s when it was acquired by the previous owner, who was Stouffer Management Company. In 2006, they really started the cleanup of this site. They remediated it down to bedrock, and then they capped about 47,000 cubic yards of material on the northern landfill site. We are not going to be touching that at all. We're just going to be developing in the previously remediated areas. As for when this facility is occupied, we don't know who the tenant is going to be. I wish we did. It would make my life a lot easier. But with our tenant mix that we have Kellogg's, Wayfair, Pepsi, Nissan, Georgia Pacific, other people that are really excited about facilities like this. For the jobs, we estimate about 200 full-time employees with about 25 part-time employees. The jobs and employment is highly variable based on what the tenant is. I've shared with Cher previously, but our 1.3 million square foot facility with Home Depot, it has 20 full-time employees in there. We have 40,000 square feet in the Meadowlands, New Jersey, with 100 full-time employees there. So it's variable. But our rule of thumb is about one employee for about 5, 6, 7,000 square feet, and so that's where we estimated this. Overall, we have had success in working with different IDAs around New York State and in New Jersey as well. This is a really integral part of our process because we want to attract the best quality tenants and the best community members for you guys. And bringing these benefits, it helps attract people like that. And it helps to attract the right tenants to these facilities and the people that we want to have in our buildings and the people that you want to have in your communities. So that was a quick overview. I've got a couple extra slides just to show you some additional renderings of what the facade might look like. Really modern features with a lot of open glass. We use some nice stone or stone mimic products on the outside. There's going to be a lot of natural landscaping on this site, so there's nothing going to be non-native or invasive. And overall, this is a clean Class A facility. Happy to answer questions about what that might be or what it might entail. But overall, that's it. That's Newburgh South.
I just want to let you all know you also have a copy in your packets behind a resolution of the test of reasonableness and the cost-benefit analysis in case you want to look at that and anything that you might want to address to them, but you've seen it in the past.
Could you go over how you determined the number of employees there again?
Yeah, so we use a general industry rule of thumb, which is about 5,000 to 6,000 square feet per one employee. That's what they use in the warehouses. I spoke with Charlie earlier about this. I've been fortunate in Brookfield and in my old company to visit a lot of really modern warehouse facilities, the robotic Amazon ones that you hear about on the website that have very few people in an office just kind of monitoring the pathways. Some are very automated. Some are grocery store aisles where there's pick and pack operation. It really depends on what the tenant is going to be doing here. Because it is on spec, we don't know who the end user is going to be. So we just use our general rule of thumb. That's how we apply what our gallons per day for sewer water capacity is going to be. It's an estimate.
But you're seeing this being more of a regional hub for distribution purposes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. What we really like about the facility is the access to interstates. It's right at 84 and 87. You can get to New York City, Fairfield County, Westchester County. You can continue to go north. You can go west of the Lehigh Valley. So we think this is a really attractive location for a facility like this. Yeah, so right now we finished our secret process. We got our zoning board approval for variances, and we have our site plan application. Frank has submitted for a building application, building permit. We can't sit on this. As we mentioned, these IDA benefits are critical for us. The site is remediated. We bought the site last July, I want to say, July 3rd, the day before July 4th. What we do is probably have 3 or 4 months of earthwork. It's going to be moving soil, it's going to be importing material, taking care of the contamination on site, followed by about 12 months of construction, vertical construction of building the warehouse. After that, it could be anywhere from 0 to 12 months for a tenant to occupy.
You have your building permit?
We do not.
Okay. When do you anticipate that?
Frank?
And then the job, the number of jobs that you're going to provide, you understand that that would be part of any closing documentation that you would have to push on to the tenant?
Yep,
Okay.
we're aware.
Okay.
So you guys spent some time going back and forth with MRB.
Push your button, Chrissy.
Oh, sorry.
That copy,
I
I don't, sorry, can I get that copy? I don't have a copy of the test of reasonableness. I can't find it.
It's a staple to your resolution.
I don't know why. Am I?
Is it that here?
Is it? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you for that.
So you guys went back and forth with MRB from your first proposal of 15-year pilot down to a 10-year pilot. Was there much you had to change in order to adjust for that, or, I mean, that process was okay,
Yeah, no, the process is great, working with Michael and his team. This is a really tough time in the real estate market in general. You guys follow cap rates is how people measure the valuableness of real estate. It's highly correlated with interest rates. Interest rates shot up over the last 2 years. This project, fortunate enough, I'm still here today working on this. When we looked at this project originally with Charlie in April, May of 2022, we ended up dropping it. It came back around because the sellers, came back and said, we need to sell this to you. Can you buy it at a certain price? And the way that we can make this project a reality for us and for Newburgh is to work with the IDA, to try to make something that works for us, for you guys, and for the tenants.
Is your, do you guys have a local bank you're working with, or who are you financing with, or your capital stack is?
Our construction loan was through Customers Bank. I believe they're out of Rockland County.
Okay.
And so that financing was secured, but that's on a 3+1+1. We can extend it or we can terminate it. But we haven't made any draws because we only bought the site.
Customers Bank, you said?
Yes.
I had a question regarding so the build is projected to be $50 million, the cost, and I wish I had brought this document. So there was also what looks like the future value of the asset to be projected to be $30 million. Let me actually pull the information up before I start going to my next question then. But before, I'm going to go get that information. Another question that I have was regarding the South Street facing landscaping. Obviously, this is one of the main entrances to the city, right? And I just want to be, for my sake, and I'm sure some of us too's sake, I would probably agree that the majority of us here, we would really want to get an idea of what that's going to look like, because it's a really trafficked area and it's an artery into the city. So are there renderings for that? Are there ways that we can go
Renderings
through it?
From South Street?
Mm-hmm.
So I can get that. I don't have that rendering right now.
Do you have any descriptors as to the type of trees and
Yeah, that one.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do a mock-up for that. There's going to be about 2 to 3 rows of evergreen trees that are going to grow and block that site, and I believe there's also going to be a fence to secure the site as well.
The site is over by
Yeah.
the storage facility.
Yeah.
The Flaubert is
Yeah.
right there. It's that whole strip.
So I wanted to see the visual of what would be after. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and just to be able to kind of see into what it'll be after the construction, right?
Okay.
It's-
So from South Street, looking
yeah,
at the
that
property.
view as
Okay.
you're driving down into the city. And let me get my.
So you guys, let's see, with IDA benefits, Obviously, there are the various financial benefits, and then we're interested in trying to make sure as much local is used in construction, which I know you guys went through, as much local is hired. We have, what's the name of that policy that we have as part of our approval, our job? where they-
Labor monitoring.
Labor monitoring policy.
Labor policy.
Is-
Local labor policy.
The hope, obviously, is that employees, obviously, will have to be local, will have to live around here. If they're not from here already, they will have to relocate here. You don't have, there's not a lot of, let's say, telecommunicating jobs or jobs
Yeah.
that,
So I believe your local labor policy applies for construction workers. It's 80% on all major trades. We will have to work with your consultant and provide, I don't know, if it's monthly or weekly reports that make sure we comply. And if there's a specialized trade that we've demonstrated that you don't have it up here, then we'll have to apply for a waiver, but that's at your consultant's discretion.
And as far as when the facility's up and running with the tenant, that was a question the planning board had too about allowances to make it more accessible for local communities. This is a great site, because there's sidewalks that lead to it. And we make allowances on the site plan for bike racks, some EV parking spaces and that. And I think there actually is a bus route that goes up.
bus, yeah.
South Street too.
Yeah.
So, those are some of the questions the planning board raised, we've accounted for that in the site plans.
Very good.
You don't often get a warehouse you can walk to.
No,
This is unique.
yeah. We don't often get a warehouse within the city limits either, so this is unique for us also.
I will just say that, it's a great location,
Yeah.
as Will said, access to the highway. But bear in mind, the site does have challenges.
Yep.
It was a super fun site.
Yeah.
It's been cleaned up, but still our construction as we go forward, it's going to be highly monitored by the DEC.
Yep.
So we don't want to give the impression it's a total greenfield site, and it's a snap to build on. It's not, and that's why I think Brookfield's a unique company that have experience doing this kind of stuff. But it's one of the reasons why we're seeking, the tax relief as this, because it's a more than normal cost
Left.
to build.
Do you, by any chance, know any of the sort of, most of our sites around here have some sort of history of, if it's been sitting for a while, where there were other potential intentions? I know because of it being a brownfield site, there's probably not a lot that can be built on the site, so this is probably one of the highest and best uses for that site anyway.
Yeah, the site is deed restricted for commercial use only. It cannot be residential, it cannot be school. You cannot use any of the groundwater on the site. Industrial is the highest and best use. We have the benefit of having a really large building that's going to cover and act as a cap for all of the contamination on site, and then all of the hardscaping around it is just going to be added protection. But this site is going to be closed out.
Yeah.
Right now, the site is open and exposed. It's been remediated. We've done investigation. We've even found stuff that DuPont and previous people have missed. Right now, there's a 47,000 cubic yard pile that you can see from the highway that is covered with an 18-inch thick geomembrane with soil on top. We're going to be doing much better than that when we, spread out everything. We take care of all of the environmental issues on site, and then cover it with, 6 inches of pavement and asphalt, and make sure it's not permeable,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be running off into your storm sewer systems.
With the other sites that you mentioned, were any of them pilot programs at all?
Yes. So we have 2 pilots in Long Island. One is with the Hempstead IDA, and one is with the Nassau County IDA. Also, we have ones in New Jersey with the Borough of Ridgefield. We're doing one with the Borough of Carlstadt as well in the Meadowlands. Those are also environmentally challenged sites. This would be a 3rd Superfund site that we have developed. We do have the expertise. You can imagine a lot of the sites that are left in New Jersey that'll have a lot of ground are old landfills, are contaminated, they're old chemical factories, paint factories. So
Have they had the same kind of requirements around labor? Around jobs, have they had the same requirements as we're asking? And were there any problems, and how did you mitigate those problems with your tenants?
yeah, we bring we follow all the local labor policies that you guys require. That has not been an issue in Long Island. As you can imagine, it's an island. We have to bring stuff from New Jersey. We try to use as much local labor as possible. If there is a very specialized steel erector that needs to come from, Bergen County instead of Rockland County or one of your 5 counties, we'll have to apply for that if we can't find it. But usually we've been very successful with getting up to the 80% threshold.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question. The projects that you did in the Hempstead, with the Hempstead IDA and the Nassau County IDA, those were both spec projects as well?
Yes, those are spec projects. The one with the Hempstead IDA was a 100,000 square foot facility. It's on a ground lease. It's right next to the Nassau Coliseum. And with the Nassau IDA, it is a 200,000 square foot facility on a 15-acre Class 4 Superfund site as well. So it's downgraded. Class 4 only means that there's ongoing monitoring, no more remediation.
So you guys maintain the buildings and you lease them out, or do you actually sell the sites to end users?
So we buy the land, we develop the buildings, we lease them, and we hold them. We don't hold them forever. Not many people do unless you're a family office, but we'll be in these for a decade or so.
And just to go back to the question, do you know who the end tenants ended up being in those projects, or no?
One of the facilities we completed in August of 23, that is still vacant, and the 200,000 square foot facility is under construction right now.
Okay.
Sorry, one last question. How long do you think it'll take to put an end user in after you guys have finished? Well, you guys probably will have somebody set up before you finish construction.
We have a 312,000 square foot facility in Montgomery that's right now. We just got our TCO last week. We're in negotiations with a large building material supplier. So I'm hoping that if we come back in a month from now, we'll be able to say the tenant's name and that they're signed. So that's an example of a building a month after TCO, we have somebody in there. Unfortunately, we have a building that is sitting for a year, right? So it really depends, but we believe that this market, up here in Orange County, tenants love it. Exemplary, you got Tessa, Walgreens right down the street, right around the corner from this facility. There's a reason why they come here. They're drawn to the local market, they love the labor, and they love the access to highways.
So with this type of project, there's obviously a confidence in that you're going to get somebody there fairly quick. And I don't know if you're able to, but there is in the area, and we have a occupancy rate closing currently into the 5%. Are you around that? Are you do you have a lot of vacancy overall in New York? As a developer, where do you stand against the market regarding that?
Yeah, I'd say in this area for Class A space, the overall market is probably about 10%. That is really high compared to for Class A brand new space. The whole New Jersey market's probably about New Jersey, New York, I lump it together, about 2.7 to 3%. Our portfolio is about 97% occupied. I'd say that 3% is a healthy vacancy. Some of the rollovers that we do, sometimes we let the market or the space go to market so that we can, repaint the walls, repaint the building, and lease it up to somebody else. So our overall portfolio is really strong.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions myself, but anybody else? Thank you for the visuals. I have to say that's a very modern-looking facility. It doesn't look like what I have in my mind when I think of warehouses, right? So that's always that might be a nice kudos to you, but obviously the whole team.
Frank's the one who builds it. We've gotten that similar commentary that it looks like an office building
Right.
from the street, but we'll make sure we get you the rendering that you want from the street with all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think thank you for the presentation. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else. I think on our end, we're pretty solid with the questions. You can feel free to stay, hang out at this point, right?
We don't
Oh.
have any particular resolution.
We do. We do. So, I don't want to actually,
So do you want me to help you with that one? So the resolution that we
Right.
have is just for the
hearing?
consideration of the public hearing.
yeah, okay, so I guess we could get that resolution on the books. So the resolution is to hold a public hearing regarding this project, and so we would need a motion.
I will make a motion to approve, I believe this is the right one, resolution number 2024-02-21-01 to hold a public hearing regarding this project.
Okay. Thank you for that. We're gonna need a roll call for this, right?
Yes, 1 second. Okay, Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester,
Yes.
and Robin Yanya Pearson.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Looks like,
Yes, usually we kind of like to do them before our regular board meeting, but, so potentially, I think it's the 18th of March, but I have to make sure it works with everybody, and then I'll get back to you.
thank you for the presentation. Okay. All right, so we can move on to the treasurer's report, and then after that, we could go into executive session.
All right, thanks, Marlon. So we have a nice, robust Treasury section tonight, I see. Looks like we have a revised report for November, thank you. And then we have the reports for December and January, and then we'll have the resolutions to pay the bills there. So we'll go in chronological order. The revised Treasury report for November 2023, I'll just give it a top line. The operating account began with a balance of $272,610.53. There were a total deposits made in the amount of $53,412.81. And those represent the changes, correct, Adriana? Just the some of the deposit figures?
Yes.
Okay. And then under the other change in the lesser tenant account, that began with a balance of $2,404.74. There was an interest paid line item in the amount of $7.91, yielding a closing balance of $2,412.65. So those are the slight revisions, but as a result, we'll have to do a motion. Does anyone move to accept the revised Treasury report for November 2023?
So moved.
A second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Adriana. All right, so we'll move on to December 2023. Make sure I have that right. They're fixed in order, right, Chair?
Yes.
They're just, okay. Okay, December 2023. The operating account began with a balance of $317,196.36. There were deposits totaling $8,528.27. There were disbursements in the amount of $135,525.87, yielding a closing balance of $190,198.76. Noteworthy in those disbursements for that month was a funds transfer to the payroll account in the amount of $130,000 even. The payroll account began with an opening balance of $31,174.03, and closed with a balance of $151,470.89. And obviously, the large increase is due to the aforementioned $130,000 transfer into the account. The applications fund began and closed with the same balance, $14,151.44. The lesser tenant account began with a balance of $2,412.65. There was interest paid in the amount of $8.20, yielding a closing balance of $2,420.85. The labor monitoring account began and ended with the same balance, $15,014.79. The money market account began with a balance of $1,230,889.30. There was interest paid in the amount of $4,181.60. There was a debit for a service charge for the amount of $30, yielding a closing balance of $1,235,040.90. The Lakeland bank account began and closed with a balance of $0. And that was 43466. That's the old Lakeland Bank. Okay. Lakeland Bank account, I should say, account number 4346 began and closed with the balance of $0. The Lakeland Bank account numbered 5683 began and closed with a balance of $4,051,111.11. So I'll hear a motion to accept the Treasurer's report for December 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to pay our bills for December 2023.
I move that we pay the bills for December.
A second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor of paying our bills December 2023?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The last, third and final Treasury report tonight. January 2024. Okay, the operating account began with a balance of $184,035.61. There were deposits totaling $98,224.68. There were total checks and disbursements totaling $34,111.26 for a closing balance of $248,149.03. Okay. The payroll account. The payroll account began with a balance of $151,470.89 and closed with a balance of, $142,494.96. During the course of the month, the total monthly payroll expense was $9,473.50. The applications fund began and closed with the same balance, $14,151.44. The lesser tenant account again remained changed only by a slight interest payment. It began with a balance of $2,420.85. There was interest paid in the amount of $8.20, yielding a closing balance of $2,429.05. Our labor monitoring account began and closed with the same balance, $15,014.79. The money market account began with a balance of $1,235,040.90. There was interest paid totaling $4,184.24. There was a service charge totaling $30. That was a debit to the account, yielding a closing balance of $1,239,195.14. Okay, the Newburgh South Logistics Center account. It looks like there is an opening balance of $0, but we had a deposit made on January 11th from Brookfield Properties, and that was who was just presenting to us, which was in the amount of $3,500. There was interest paid during the course of the month totaling $7.65, so that account closed with $3,507.65. The Lakeland Bank account number 4346, again, began and closed with a balance of zero, but our Lakeland Bank account number 5683 began with an opening balance of $4,051,111.11. We earned interest during the course of the month in the amount of $51,764.19. Reminder, that's an interest rate of 5%. The balance, the closing balance of that Lakeland Bank account 5683 is $4,102,875.30.
Is your button on, Chrissy? Because I can't hear you.
The interest of the 51,000 wasn't for the 1 month, that was just a group together of maybe 4 months?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So noted. Thank you, Chrissy. That's important.
Just one of the things that I asked Chair, because I was trying to remember when was the last time we had the update on the interest when we got a document. So I guess by the next meeting we just know when when they're scheduled. That's good.
Okay. Thank you, Chrissy. So we'll hear a motion to accept the Treasurer's report for January 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. And we'll hear a motion to pay our bills, January 2024.
I move to pay the bills for January.
Excellent. Second? We hear a second.
I'll second.
Second by Christie. All those in favor of paying our bills, January 2024.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Cool. Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. That was a very detailed, thorough revision and review of the Treasurer's report. Okay, so for the Chairman's report, I actually don't
sorry.
have...
Just under Adam, I just had one more thing, the annual project, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I gave you all a printout of the projects that I report on annually. And in our agency structure, it says that we are supposed to have an annual compliance processing fee of $150 to $500. And I've never done that. We should. That's a way, they agree to that when they sign on for benefits. So I guess I want you to tell me when you want me to charge people. I mean, maybe Bob can chime in when a project would be charged more, but, you can see what's a pilot versus a bond, and I would assume maybe bond projects usually...
Bond projects usually have a higher annual fee, because there's, in theory, there's some maintenance. Right now, you're providing essentially the same ABO report on all of the projects, because the bond projects are really very mature at this point. So, it's complete discretion to the board what your annual fee could be, should be.
Is there not a fee?
Huh?
Is there not currently a
The
fee?
150?
I don't think it's been collected.
It's never been collected. Like when we, as the Audit Finance Committee, get together and we look at our schedule for the year, one of the things that's there is like annual processing fee.
Right.
But, I didn't inherit it that way where, hey, we were collecting this every year. So now I'm trying to...
Does it say it anywhere in the pilot documents what the fee could have been? Do we have a range? Do we
Was
have-
it presented to the applicants in any way?
So I can't speak to the old matters that predate, my engagement by the agency. The projects that we've closed since that engagement started all contain a provision in the leaseback agreement that says they'll pay all fees of the agency. The only fees that are identified at the closing are the closing fee, which is based on a percentage of the project amount, and the attorney's fee. But there is a provision in the lease that they'll pay any annual fees that the agency advised them of. So there is notice of the fees. There is no amount.
Do we pay PKF, do they do these individually, the accounting company? I mean, do we pay a certain fee per project relative to them?
No, they come in and they do an audit of the whole thing, and that's just for the audit. This is just for, like, I guess this is considered the labor that is done in getting the information from them of how many people do you employ, how much is left on the bond, I need your insurance. It's just like, I would assume it's for the administrative fees of like the annual reporting work that needs to be done. And so that's why.
Do we have any sort of point of reference?
Yeah, Bob, what
Regarding
do you
pricing?
see with other projects?
So other IDAs, there are some that don't charge because they don't have a lot of projects. Some charge up to $500 because that's a fee income for them, and they have lots of projects. I would say the average is probably somewhere in the middle, $350. It really is a function of, as Cher said, the labor involved in putting together the reports. There is some time to get out letters. There's some time to get the information back. Sometimes you have to track down. I think your applicants have been pretty good in submitting the information that you have to report on by the end of March. So it's a matter of, do you want to offset some of the labor costs that you're spending on putting this together by charging your applicants a fee,
Right.
which you're entitled to do.
Is this in the applications?
Huh?
This annual fee is in the application?
It's disclosed as part of the lease, which is the closing document that transfers the property back to the applicant. And there's general language in that lease that says they will pay all the fees of the agency as an annual rent.
Okay, and they won't be surprised when we present,
I
because I'm surprised.
I would think that the applicants that have been around for a long time that haven't been charged the fee will be somewhat surprised.
They will be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
Right.
Right. So I think there's some discussion regarding this, whether and what the amounts would be. So I think we can all agree that maybe there's a little bit more discussion, or maybe some information that we need. Maybe we could table this for the following meeting. But thank you for bringing that up. And
Sure, so just let me know what information you want from me.
right,
yes, and
I
then-
would for my sake, I would just want to get an idea what other IDAs are charging. And thank you, Bob, for giving us that range from your experience. But just having an idea, and I just want to also remind the board that we are now having a cadence. People the projects before. We would have to just be mindful of maybe dropping something new on applicants that have successfully established their projects. So it's just a few data points to consider. That's what I would suggest.
That's the part two is, if we decide to charge a fee, is that like, do we do it going forward? And
Certainly on a going forward basis.
Right.
Yeah.
If you decide to do it for new projects, we would amend the provision in the lease and make it very specific and clear that there's an annual fee of up to X
Okay.
that can be charged. Right now, it's just a blanket, you're responsible for the fees and expenses of the agency.
Yep. And I think Sharon, and I remember doing some work with Chrissy on this, I think, in years past on some of that stuff, the data collection to support justifying the amount of the fee, I guess, Peekskill, Yonkers, we looked at New Rochelle, I remember, I think Albany, right, Schenectady, all those rivers.
Right.
So, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just, if you collect some of that, it would be helpful.
It's a function of how cooperative the applicants are. I think you're fortunate in that your recent applicants, I think, are very forthcoming with the information. Some of the older applicants, like B and K, I think you have to pull it out a little bit. No? They're okay?
Oh.
Vaughn and
No,
Kenny?
yeah. No, everybody's good.
Everyone's good? Okay. So- Which is the one with all the insurance claims?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I knew there was one.
Yeah. Lake Street.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Have you ever seen it where it's conditioned on, sort of providing information by a certain deadline if it's not provided by this time? If it's a month before required, a fee is required to expedite or,
It's never been an issue, but he did draft the letter, you did draft the letter for me, I think, that I send everybody, that's like,
Right.
this is the deadline. I think if you,
But to Chrissy's point,
because if somebody's
that's a great
cooperative,
question.
then.
I can't recall it ever being tied to a date certain. It's either, it's either a blank fee or there's no fee. I don't think I've ever.
or if you
been
don't give it
involved
to
with
us, then we revoke your.
Well, there are other.
I'm saying not the
Yeah.
fee, I'm saying
Yeah.
like if you don't give me the data that I need for Paris, then
Right.
your
Right.
benefits can be revoked because
Yeah.
And that's in every agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in every agreement.
Yeah. No, there are other things in other sort of similar type contracts where if you're cooperating, we don't need to charge you a fee if you give us the information. If you're not cooperating, and we have to expend additional amount of time and energies to get this for us to help you
I
and
can't
report these
say-
things, then it's going to cost an additional fee.
I can't say that there's not an IDA in the state that does it that way. I can't recall where I've ever been involved
Okay.
with one.
Okay.
It could be there, but I just don't recall that. That's a great question. Nothing comes to mind.
Well, if you happen to see anything, maybe that might be a good
Yeah, I'll take a look,
solution.
but I don't recall.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. So that closes out the report from the treasurer. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Sheriff, for clarifying that. And regarding the chairman's report, I don't have anything to talk about that is, worth noting at the moment. There are a few things that we have gone over with Gregory and Cher, but when that comes up, we can talk about it. So, regarding actually that, did we send out the link for the latest? Did we share the latest version of the website with the
I
board?
just got it a few minutes before the board meeting,
Okay.
actually, so I haven't sent it out
What-
to you,
what-
but now he has like a working link where you're supposed to play with it. I could only click on 2 things.
Right.
I'm like, what else can you do with this? So I kind of just want to know, but you'll be getting a link that you can kind of see.
All right, so you'll be sharing that soon. So has anybody seen we've shared the PDFs, though. Has anybody seen the PDFs on this stuff? Okay. It's a lot of work that's going into this. And I got to say thank you, Sharon and Gregory, by the way. You too. Rock stars.
Yes, and everybody, some of you have given headshots, but, we've talked with Marlon maybe like in the warmer months or when it's just not so crazy at the moment, but, we can, or when the sun is out longer or something,
So
maybe.
we could also do a quick rental of a studio and just get it done.
I'm going to get it done at my job.
I could do it for free.
Oh, okay. But in the meanwhile, just send me something, and then in the
Right.
future we can.
It'd be nice to have something that's kind of like cohesive, something where everybody's in a similar background, the same background. All right. Okay. So regarding the committee positions, I have this document share that just goes over the audit from finance and the governance committee. Is there anything specific?
Teresa agreed to be part of the audit finance committee, so we
Oh, wow.
no longer have that vacancy.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the volunteers.
Hey, welcome aboard.
It's fun around October, November. I promise you that. I promise you that. I was thinking back how long I was the treasurer. I couldn't remember. I feel like I've just been here for a while.
So you should, Bob says you should vote on your committee assignment.
Okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and, I guess the motion would be to approve the members of the Audit and Finance Committee and the Governance Committee. All right, so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the members.
So for the members, I'm just going to read out the names. So for the Audit and Finance, we have Christina Amato, Adam Pollack, and now we have Teresa Pierster. And for the governance, it's Marlon, myself, Gregory, and Robin Jania Pearson. And
I'll second.
we have the motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstaining? Opposing? Okay.
Whenever possible, can we skip the Robin? No one calls for that.
Okay, I promise you.
R, just R dot, okay.
You know, it's a legal name, but I don't go by it.
I like Yania.
I feel like I'm in the doctor's
unique.
office. They're the only ones I haven't had.
Yeah.
So noted.
I know many Robins, but not many Yanias. You're the only one, so I'll say that. Okay. So, let's do this. I think we should make the motion into going into executive session at this point to discuss the legal matters.
Well, do
What about the council report?
I can do a report, or I can wait. It's up to you.
why don't we do their
Do you want to do Bob first?
We could do the council's report.
So I'll be real quick. Good evening again. Always good to be here. Just quickly, just three quick items. There was the annual EDC meeting a couple of weeks ago in Albany. I know that many of you wanted to come and couldn't because of snow. I unfortunately could not attend either because of a family matter. I do have reports of my two associates that went to the meeting. I just haven't caught up with them. I'll distribute that to share on the board. There was apparently a very good presentation on Wednesday on the status of prevailing wage for projects like we just received tonight. So I'll get up to speed from them. I think I'm meeting with David on Friday, so I just haven't had the time to catch up with him. On Scobie Drive, we did get good news. Cher also got the news yesterday that DEC has essentially approved their remedial action work plan. They gave them comments yesterday on provisions of the plan that they needed to amend, really nitpicking comments, which is good, because they're really at the last stage. We have been in touch with their counsel, Dominic, who has said that they're through planning, or they're about to be through planning. They've really come far along, so we can check on that. And so I would hope that within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're at a point where they're ready. They may have planning approval, and they may be ready to go, and then we can discuss with them, either completion of the sale or some sort of timetable of when they're going to get it completed to be able to get things done. So that was really positive. I mean, it's been almost 4 full years. And then on the hotel, I know that Cher distributed the note that there's a potential for the financing, which is great. I was going to mention that we still have to vote on an amendment to their requirements because they're really out of date. And so what I thought I would do is, with this, maybe I'll circulate what was agreed to by way of timing, and then we can kind of discuss, if not at the next meeting, at the April meeting, what their timetable is and what the new time frame should be on those projections. And those projections were jobs and job training and working with the community, the local college on a training program for hospitality services. So all of that needs to be amended because they were all supposed to have that done by really August or September of this year. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're a little bit behind.
Right.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Is that something they can initiate? Like can they initiate that information about the amendment, so to give us
So they
an updated
gave us,
timeline?
they gave us a letter in October, November, saying that they couldn't get financing, or they were having trouble getting financing. They were optimistic in that these these requirements needed to shift. We did talk about that very briefly at one meeting.
Remember?
So, that's a function of, I think, reminding everyone what was agreed to in the documents and in the approval resolution, and then, meeting with them, or they can suggest what they want, to your
Yeah,
point.
that would be
So,
helpful, rather
okay.
than us trying to
Sure.
figure out what their
That's fine.
timeline.
Okay.
adjustment.
Well, what I'll do is I'll recirculate over the next couple of weeks what was part of the original resolution, because it's been a couple of years since we did that, and then I can send it out to their council and see what their reaction is. I think they said they were looking for a summer closing.
He said within 6 months, so that was a February 15th email, so 2 + 6, August.
So we need to figure out the timing on that. My goal was to not amend the documents and then to have to amend them again. My goal was to try and get a financing. So let's see what the realistic timeframe is. Certainly if they say 6 months in this environment, that usually means 9 months, just because. So we'll have blown past the September dates, so we probably should do a resolution extending, and then we'll have to do another one upon the closing. But we'll there's time to figure that out. Yep. Great question.
All right. Thank you, Bob, for that. So why don't we just move into number 7 then, into the executive directors, and then we'll go into the...
Sure.
Sure.
I don't really have much to say. Everything that we're talking about at this meeting is what consumes all my time. So the meeting is the report. I don't really have anything specific to say on any one particular topic.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. Now we can move on to item number 8. Yes, so we'll be moving into executive session to discuss matters related to the sale of lease or of real property. So I need a...
Motion to go into executive session to discuss the matters related to the sale, of lease of real property.
So we need a second.
And I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep. Okay, mine is, how about you, Marlon?
Okay, so the motion to come out of executive session was moved, I believe, by Chrissy, right? And second by Yanya. All in favor? Aye.
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 Standing opposing. Okay, so no action was taken in executive session. Okay, so moving on to new business or anything that the board would like to discuss
Do we
pertaining.
need to go to the resolutions? You want us to discuss?
We could move, okay, so let's move on to resolution, which is, let's go on to, so we did this one. Okay, and so, all right, so this is the resolution to engage the consultant.
We're on number 2?
It's,
So number 2, I think,
is it the 03?
I think 02,
02.
02 is going to be tabled.
You want us to go in order?
Yeah, number 2, okay, yeah, so we're gonna table resolution 2024-02-21-02. All right, we're gonna be tabling that, and we're gonna move on to resolution 2024-02-21-03, which is the resolution to engage our consultant in real matters. So I need a motion for that.
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-02-21-03.
Okay, we need a second.
A second.
All right, we're gonna need a roll call
Roll
for
call,
that.
Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent. Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester,
Yes.
and Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. So, regarding old business,
Your resolution 04. Yeah, well,
we have another resolution? Which one?
it wasn't on the agenda, but we have another resolution.
Okay, you can make a motion for that.
Number, I'm going to make a motion to accept Resolution 2024-02-21-04 to engage special counsel.
Okay, do a roll call. Marlon Ramos.
Yes?
Christina Amato.
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent. Adam Pollock.
Yes.
Gregory Nato.
Yes.
Teresa Priester.
Yes.
And Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
Do we need to, we don't need to make a motion to pay the retainer, do we?
As part of the
It's
resolution.
part of the resolution, okay.
And you'll approve that, you'll approve that next month in the payment of the bills as well.
Okay, so then we can move on to item number 10, which is old business. And then obviously we could still circle back for discussion purposes for anything else that we want to discuss today. Anything in the old business? Okay, so I guess we could open it up to see if we want to discuss the project at hand, anything that, that comes to mind. So it's open for that.
The Economic Development Conference, is that something?
So there was the one in Albany? The one in Albany?
No, the list of possible
Oh,
precedents.
that's yeah. So this is the goal for this year, or so what do we call it, right? The economic conference, the Newburgh Economic Conference. That conversation. So Sherry, you emailed a link. Is a Google Drive link where you can add names of organizations. I'm guessing even individuals that.
This is for our
And the
conference.
Newburgh, yeah, Newburgh.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure, I was going to respond to the email, I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I would like to definitely make sure that we do is the banks that are engaging in Newburgh, that we can reach out soon and see if we can establish a line of communication, and then maybe they can also be invited to participate, make a presence here. That's something that.
Sure, if
I
you
would definitely
have
suggest.
anybody who I don't know, add them to the list, or if it's easier for you to take a picture of a business card or
Right.
whatever, send that to me and I add it to the list. But, it's meant to be all-inclusive for everyone's connections and ideas.
Yeah.
These are for invitees, people to invite, or?
Yeah,
people
and just maybe anybody who maybe it's a master list of people that the IDA needs to, have on our radar, period, right? So it could be a useful list. I could
should
see it in
invite
many
the
different
governor.
ways.
How pie in the sky can it be?
Can we invite the governor? I'm serious.
Pie in the sky. Hey, we have a marketing firm now. It's their job to
True.
invite people, so we can give them our pie in the sky list.
But it would be a cold call. So, do we?
I don't think we don't have a format yet or a plan yet
It's-
for what this conference
I'm
is going
just
to look
putting
like.
I'm
what
just
sort
putting
of-
together a spreadsheet.
You're
yeah.
just putting,
Okay.
she's just starting
Okay.
to brainstorm.
Right,
So,
right.
Okay.
yes, eventually we're going to get to the point where we have a very good plan of what's going to happen
Right.
and
Awesome.
presentations, whatever, and then we're going to use our marketing firm to market this
Right.
and try and
Super.
get
So-
these people to
Yeah,
come.
when I'm sitting at my desk, sometimes people just pop up in my head, and
Mm-hmm.
I just put them in. So that's why I'm telling you far in advance, because Marlon had somebody, and I popped in my head. I'm like, hey, so if people are popping up in your head during the day, just
We should-
see if you can find that email and put them in there as you think of them as we get closer to that time.
We should reach out to the gentleman from Webster Bank soon, though. Okay. And I actually spoke to Yanya, and she brought up a great point, which is for us to get some sort of guidance, like an organization or like a person that has experience putting events like this together. So it's, if it's, I guess, legal to do, we should look for help
Conference
so that we do a great job, in my opinion.
Does the marketing person include that?
Yeah, it's included in the marketing.
Marketing
Yeah.
can
So you already have that person.
coordinate this event?
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds good to me. Yeah, so does anybody, so we, discussing, I don't know if we'll get ready to move from that subject at all. Okay, all right. Anybody else has anything else to add regarding the economic development, the Newburgh Economic Development conference that we're looking to do?
Do we have a date, or, I mean?
No.
Okay,
There's a lot of moving
Very
parts right now.
okay.
But definitely this year. Ideally, it was, early this year, but there's things that need to be
Takes a
finalized.
while, actually.
Okay. So does anybody want to add to the questions, to the anything pertaining to the project on South Street?
I think that, let's see, how to pose this. When we first got the application, there were specific requests of the IDA for a pilot and for IDA benefits. In the process that we go through with MRB, right? Did I say that right? And our outside consultants on impact analysis, that request has changed per their financials. I have read the report. I guess my question is, it's changed pretty substantially, which is fine, but I know for a lot of projects that come to visit us, they're pretty thin returns, such that the change of a year or a change of, a certain amount is very hard to do. So the change of a third of the requested pilot amount is pretty significant. Again, I'm very in favor of this project for a lot of its benefits and a lot of the reasons it should go there. I just want to make sure us as an IDA, I know that they are now within our UTEP standards, and that they have gone through the fiscal impact analysis, and our outside consultants have reviewed this and reviewed their numbers. But again, sort of my question with other projects is, I know there's a specific term for this, but is this, how much of these benefits are necessary in order for this project to still attain market rate returns? How much benefit? It just seems like there was kind of a big swing. So any insight from when you were talking to the consultants about sort of what that swing was, or if they're, because I know if they're reaching our UTEP threshold or what we currently have in our UTEP, that's fine, but per our discussions about UTEP, there's never really a definitive table. It's all based on
Their numbers too.
every project's sort of individual financial circumstances and how much is actually needed for the project, not just we're blanketly giving you whatever our benefits say because you fit within the UTEP.
Well, so they use the exact table that's there, so we wouldn't have to have a hearing for a deviation. It's the city, the school district, the county have already approved that schedule. That's already in our UTEP. So, check off needing a deviation hearing. They just went, that is the reason why you want to have a useful UTEP useful table, because they were able to just use that. The first round that we did, so both reports are on our website, the original test of reasonableness and the original CBA, and you will see that Michael from MRB said it was not a reasonable ask. And so I think they just thought about it a little bit harder and looked at what was in our current UTEP and made it work. And yes, it is a ginormous difference. I would defer to Bob then, if you feel like a potential developer could give you even more than what's as of right in your UTEP, I wouldn't know. But, as of right now, they've revised it and Michael has deemed it to be reasonable. And when we have a public hearing, he will also talk about his findings as well. So,
Right, so I think these are great questions, and I think it's entirely appropriate to ask Michael at the public hearing and the developer at the public hearing. And they have no right to this. This is a benefit. You can certainly provide them with the sales tax benefit and the mortgage recording tax benefit and say no to the pilot or say no to any part of it or all of it. It's entirely up to the agency. But those questions are appropriate for the public hearing to document your thoughts, to document the responses, not only Michael's response as your consultant, but also the applicant's response, and then for you to judge and think about that and make a decision. But from my standpoint,
Okay.
I'm happy that they are within the UTEP because, as we've talked about, constantly going for deviation should not be the goal of the agency, which is why you engaged the UTEP consultant to come up with a plan.
Okay. Thanks. That was helpful. So recap that, just to make sure I understood you, Cher. The application, as it was originally constituted, asked for X, and then our consultant reviewed it and said there was at least one element that was not reasonable, so they went back to the drawing board and made revisions, and they asked for Y. Is that about fair?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So I personally don't have any questions. I think for me, one of the biggest drivers here is going to be who ends up being there. But after speaking to, I think I actually brought this up in the last meeting that I had met with Connor again to get more information about how this environment, the warehouse environment, is in our local area. And he also expressed the same level of confidence that the gentleman today provided regarding the tenants and the how fast to be able to get a tenant. Another thing that I think of is that they would be, if they're getting the benefits, then there is a responsibility for the jobs that they're projecting. So there's that part, right? So there's the part where there's the limited possible developments in that field, in that plot of land. It also makes it so that this particular type of development, it is, and it also addresses the tax increase in Newburgh overall. So there's a lot of positive that I see in it. But obviously, given where Newburgh, in my opinion, is heading and the activity and the new people coming in here, having a really amazing tenant there that provides jobs that maybe are manufacturing jobs, something that's producing, that would be ideal. But overall, I happen to like this particular development. And the part that I brought up earlier regarding that front-facing, that South Street-facing part, it is important to me. So I hope we can find more details soon regarding that, how it's going to look. Because these are pretty big buildings.
So they did say, which is something that we can clarify at the public hearing, they did say that the first 2 years of the pilot for their construction, they would not
That's right.
not seek for the pilot. So it's actually not a 10-year pilot, it's an 8-year pilot.
Yeah.
You certainly can also say to them that the pilot is not effective if you don't have a tenant. And so, their project
They'll
in
have 2 years.
Hempstead, which is kind of weird that, Nassau County is kind of well-populated, there's really not a lot of open space. But if they have a vacant building and they're getting a pilot, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost by design that they have to move forward and get somebody there quick.
One thing to get the sales tax benefit, because they have to really get that up front, because they're getting that benefit as they're buying materials to construct the project. But if they never get a tenant, so let's say worst case, the pilot isn't engaged, it's not applicable, and they never get a tenant, it sits there vacant, you can then, and have an obligation to then recapture, under the statute, to recapture the sales tax benefit from them, and then advise the department and the comptroller's office that that you've sent them a notice to recapture,
Right.
and they've either paid you or they've ignored you, and then it's up to the controller.
Yeah. And at that point, it's equal to them just have to go on through the development without us if we recapture. So, it's, yeah, there's definitely a lot of merits to this development, in my opinion. So I don't have anything else to add.
It's great for the city, it would be great
Mm-hmm.
to happen. I just want to make sure that we're giving benefits.
Woodsworth, they've built a lot of the warehouses where my mom and dad used to live down in New Jersey, and they are really cool looking. They look like an office building. You don't think, if it wasn't for the trucks going in and out, you'd never think that they were a warehouse.
It's Brookfield, like they own every great mall,
Right.
every department store.
Right. They got the connects. They have tenants, potential lineup. Yeah,
They
that's
don't want to leave it, empty.
okay.
Yeah, and the Nassau County market is not your market.
No,
It's in the middle of nowhere.
right.
I mean, it's hard to get in, it's
And
hard to
hard,
get off.
exactly. Congestion in and out. Yeah.
In Hempstead, if it's near the Coliseum, that was like,
The Meadowbrook, there's no anything on the Meadowbrook.
Yeah, and frankly, I would suspect potentially that they can't find a tenant because there's the casino proposal.
Oh,
It's at the Coliseum,
casino proposal in there.
and that could, who wants to be a warehouse next to a casino?
So, yeah. There's times where I go down to Long Island. It takes me an hour and 45 or 3 hours. In the bridge area. Yeah,
Take the ferry. I take the ferry.
All right. So I'm
Most of the time.
personally, I don't have any other questions or anything that I want to bring, forward. If anybody else, please feel free. But if everybody's ready, we can make the motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstaining? Opposing? Thank you. Oh, there's that thing.